Nathaniel Sports Central. We go over our next schedule preview this offseason, and it's going to be over the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a team that went 4-8 overall in the 2022 season. This is a team that disappointed a bit once again in 2022. This has just been a disappointing team over the last few years, but this team is in a new era. Matt Rhule's the new head coach, and this team has got some renewed optimism as we look forward to 2023. I mean, look at Nebraska the past few years. This is a team that's had tremendous potential, and they've had high expectations heading into every season because of the talent on this team. But the problem is, in the Scott Frost era, this team just could not get it done. But Matt Rhule's the new head coach, and this team definitely, once again, has got some tremendous talent going into 2023. It's just a matter of whether or not this team can win. We'll be talking about this team here today, going over the players that this team will be losing, who they'll be returning, and previewing their schedule for the first time this offseason. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. Once again, a 4-8 season. This team from the start, just a gut punch in week 0. That game was in Dublin, Ireland, and Nebraska lost to Northwestern 28-31. That was Northwestern's one win of the 2022 season. I mean, just a horrendous loss to start off the season. Next week, they beat North Dakota in what was a close game at first, but Nebraska got the win 38-17. Then lost to Georgia Southern. This was the game where Scott Frost would get fired afterward, and rightfully so. I mean, Scott Frost, what a disappointing era that he had with Nebraska. I mean, the expectations were so high for this team during his era going into each season, but Scott Frost just could not get it done. And they lost to Georgia Southern that night, 45-42. That's just a team you can't lose to. I mean, Georgia Southern was a decent team in 2022, but that's just not a team that Nebraska should be losing to. Next week, the first game of Mickey Joseph's interim head coaching career with Nebraska. Nebraska lost that one 49-14. Oklahoma destroyed the Huskers in that one. And I mean, if you look after their bye week when this team took on Indiana, that was a really impressive performance there. They beat Indiana 35-21. And really the second half of the season, I would say this team very much improved over the course of the 2022 season. Yeah, it was a very disappointing start, but this team was really, I mean, this team played most teams very close. They beat Rutgers on the road on a Friday night. That was, you could say, an impressive win. Defensively really showed up. They lost to Purdue then the next week in a shootout, 43-37. Could have gotten a win there for sure. They lost to Illinois 26-9. Illinois had a really impressive season. Lost to Minnesota the next week, 20-13. That's a game that they should have won as well. I mean, they should have beaten Wisconsin. They should have beaten Minnesota. They should have beaten Purdue as well. But all three, I mean, even Georgia Southern should have beaten them as well. This is a team that really had no business being 4-8 in 2022. You could say the exact same about 2021 when this team was 3-9. I mean, that 2021 team was regarded as, and is regarded as, the best 3-9 team of all time because of how close they played every game. This was a talented team. The past 2 years, a really talented team, but they just could not get it done in the close games. Should have beat Northwestern as well. I mean, this is a team that very well could have been 8-4 or 9-3 in 2022. They just could not get it done in many of those close games. They beat Iowa 24-17 to finish out the season. That was, yeah, definitely the most impressive performance of the season. They let Iowa get back into that game, and it was scary there for a little bit, but Huskers got the win in the end and finished out the season at 4-8. But bottom line, another disappointing season for Nebraska. Your roster preview going to next season: Casey Thompson's coming back, the Texas transfer quarterback. He is back for a second season with the Huskers. And, of course, you got Jeff Sims in there as well, the Georgia Tech transfer quarterback. We'll see if he makes an impact on this team in 2023. The backfield looks great. Anthony Grant's coming back. A.J. Allen's coming back. Anthony Grant had over 1,000 yards as a rusher in 2022. So keep an eye on him. He is a key player for this backfield. A.J. Allen is obviously back there as well, even though he really didn't have quite as big of an impact in 2022. The receiving core, Trey Palmer, that is a tough loss there. Trey Palmer really came around in 2022. He put up 1,100 yards of total offense, 9 touchdowns. Really an impressive season there for Trey Palmer, who is, I would expect to have success in the NFL in the future. You return your second receiver, Marcus Washington. He was impressive in 2022, but Trey Palmer was far and away the top receiver on this team. Travis Vokalek, top tight end, he's gone. Alante Brown is also gone, the third receiver on this team, fourth in receiving yards. So receiving core does lose a couple, but there is a lot of good depth in the receiving core. Backfield looks good. Quarterback situation with Casey Thompson. I mean, things are looking up for Nebraska as we look forward to 2023. I think you look at Matt Rule's first season at his colleges that he's coached at in Temple and Baylor. His first season at both places was horrible. But you'll see that Matt Rule progresses his teams at an excellent rate, and they turn out to be contenders in a couple of years. But I think this is a different story with Nebraska. I think this is a team that is built to win already in 2023. So we'll see how much success Matt Rule is able to have with this team, and can this team finally break through in 2023? I'll say this. I think this is a team that definitely could, but I don't think they will quite yet. I think this is a team that should, I mean, they really have had no business not getting to bowl games the past couple of years, and it's just a matter of whether or not they can get those wins in close games. And if they can do that, this team should far and away be, and very likely should be a 6-8 win team. It's just a matter of whether or not they can get it done. And once again, those close games that have really come to bite this team over the past few years. Your transfer portal and recruiting, Jeff Sims mentioned him. He's coming up from Georgia Tech to add to the quarterback situation. Jaquez Yant, one of the top running backs on this team, is off to Florida A&M. You got several players coming in from Georgia, which is interesting. Tight end Eric Gilbert is coming in from Georgia. You also bring in Jacob Hood, offensive tackle from Georgia. You bring in Billy Kemp and Josh Fleeks, two receivers to add to the receiving situation. Billy Kemp, wouldn't be surprised to see him have an immediate impact on this team. Ben Scott, offensive tackle, coming in from Arizona State, and you lose Brant Banks to Rice. Otherwise, Elijah Judy, he's coming in, defensive lineman from Texas A&M. And then you bring in MJ Sherman, edge rusher, another Georgia player here, but you do lose Ernest Hausman. This is a brutal loss. Really a player who really broke through in 2022, and he's off to Michigan, where he's definitely going to be a key player. I mean, yeah, Hausman, this is one that definitely stings, I think, for the linebacking situation. But you at least got some depth being added with Chief Borders coming in from Florida. Jaden Gould, defensive back, is off to Syracuse. And you bring in Corey Collier, also from Florida. Recruiting-wise, not too bad. 24th in the nation. They're 5th in the Big Ten. 4 4-stars coming in, and 24 3-stars. So not a bad class for Matt Rule's first season at Nebraska. On the future forecast meter, I got this team at an 8 out of 10. Basically saying I'm pretty confident Nebraska's got a bright future. I really like Matt Rule. I like the recruiting, transfer portal. Everything looks good for Nebraska. And this team, I mean, it's been that way the past couple of years. This is a team that's been talented, and they've had all the tools to be an excellent team, and they have been a great team, I feel. But the problem is, it's just those close losses have really looked terrible on the record. This is a team the past couple of seasons that could have been an 8 to 10 win team, and it wouldn't have surprised me based on the talent that this team has had. They just have not been able to get it done. So that's obviously a crucial thing and a huge storyline as we look forward to 2023. Can this team just get those close wins? And that said, let's look at your schedule going to next season. You got Minnesota in week 1. That is on a Thursday night on the road to kick off the season. So the first Big Ten game to kick off of the year. And Minnesota is a team that I do think falls off a bit, but it's still a crucial game there in the Big Ten West. Then you got Colorado in week 2. This is kind of a weird schedule in that Nebraska starts off the first 2 games of the season on the road. That is definitely not ideal, but they're 2 opponents that I think Nebraska definitely can beat. Northern Illinois in week 3, then Louisiana Tech in week 4. Michigan at home, a huge one there to finish out September. In October, you got Illinois on the road, Northwestern at home after a bye, and then Purdue at home. And then November, you got Michigan State on the road, Maryland at home, and then Wisconsin on the road, and then Iowa at home to finish out the season. So looking at the first month of action here, you got Minnesota on the road, obviously a crucial game there in week 1. The past couple of years, Nebraska's had conference games to start off the season, and both have gone terribly. This team lost to Illinois a couple of years ago, lost to Northwestern last year in Ireland, which was Northwestern's 1 win of the season. How does it go this year around? I do want to favor Nebraska right now, but it's a dangerous game. I mean, Minnesota's a team that, once again, I think kind of goes into a rebuild phase in 2023. They just have lost quite a bit of talent. No more Ibrahim and everything. So, I mean, for Minnesota, I do think the Golden Gophers are going to have a challenge getting to a bowl game next season. And I do think Minnesota is still, they're a decent team, but that's, once again, a crucial game to start off the season on the right note. Then you got Colorado in week 2. Now, the Buffaloes have gotten quite a bit of hype because of Deion Sanders. I don't think Colorado is quite as good as maybe some of their fans think, but yeah, I got Nebraska winning it. I do want to favor them right now, but that's also a dangerous game being on the road in week 2. Your first home game comes in week 3 against Northern Illinois. Easy win there. Same with Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech may be a bit tougher than Northern Illinois, but I do think you get it done. So this team has got all the potential in the world to start the season 4-0. It's just a matter of whether or not this team can get it done. And then Michigan in week 5. This is a huge one. Michigan coming off of 2 outstanding seasons. I think Michigan is once again great in 2023, and it is a home game there for the Huskers. Maybe they are a potential upset bid for the Wolverines, but I do want to favor Michigan there, though. I just think the Wolverines are just the better team. That's a team that I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see them once again make a run for the college football playoffs. So the ceiling's 4-1 heading into October. I do have a low floor, though, for this team, which is 2-3, and that's just in the case that things just aren't working out for Matt Rule quite yet. And that is, I mean, considering the past few years, that is a possibility for this team. Looking at October, you got Illinois on the road. Now, this is a game where I consider putting in an orange. I think Illinois is still I think they're here to stay. That's still a team that I see being pretty good in 2023. But I'm actually going to favor Nebraska right now. I think after a tough Michigan game, I think Nebraska learns from their mistakes. I'm going to favor them right now. But that's pretty much a 50-50 game. Honestly, yeah, I probably shouldn't be predicting that game quite yet. It's too early, but I'm going to favor Nebraska there for now. Northwestern, I think you take care of them. It's a home game. There is no excuse for losing that one. And then Purdue after that, I mean, both Illinois and Purdue are games where they're pretty much 50-50. They're kind of on the border of yellow and orange. I do think Nebraska loses to either Illinois or Purdue, but I don't know if they win or lose both games. So I do think they split those games. It's just a matter of which one. But the ceiling is 7-1 for this team. The floor is 3-4 heading into November. Michigan State, and this one's a tough one going on the road. I'm going to favor the Spartans there. I do think Michigan State improves in 2023. They definitely disappointed in 2022. It's also a tough location. I'll take Michigan State there. I'll favor them for now. Maryland, then, I do think the Terps are going to be a solid team in 2023. I see them between 7 and 9 wins. So I do think, though, having them at home, I do want to favor Nebraska there for now, but that is going to be a tricky one. And then Wisconsin on the road. I mean, Nebraska's had so much trouble beating Wisconsin. Can they do it in 2023? I think they could, but I do think Wisconsin's going to be better in 2023. I see them as a 9-10, potential 9-10 win team. So I'm going to favor the Badgers there for now. And then Iowa at home to finish out the regular season. Nebraska finally beat Iowa last season. That game was in Iowa City. I do want to favor Nebraska this year as well, being at home. And plus, the Hawkeyes are a team with a lot of uncertainty, I think, going into next season, despite having, you could say, a better quarterback situation with Cade McNamara. But that said, your prediction, I'm going to say the ceiling is 9-3 for this team. 5-7 is the floor. I mean, the past few years, this team has just, I mean, they're talented enough to be a really good contender in the Big Ten. They just have not gotten it done. And I do think with a new head coach and Matt Rule, really like Matt Rule, and I think this team is definitely in the right direction, heading in the right direction as we look forward to 2023. I think a good ballpark for this team is 6-7 wins, just to be safe for 2023. The potential's here for this team to be a 9-win team, but I think for now, first year of the Matt Rule era, I'm going to go with a 6-7, kind of in that range for this team going into next season. But let me know your thoughts and comments below on Nebraska, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.